Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do Advent of Code 2023 day 1. Finally got some new challenges to do. Let's directly switch to the problem description. The elves want to launch us with a trebuchet. I have no idea how to say that in English. Once more I've made a mistake and amended the list. So the newly improved calibration document has lines of text. Each line used to be only one value. Now these values are mixed up with characters as well. So if we look at the examples, we have one ABC2, and what we need to do now is remove everything in between, take the first number, the last number, form a 2-digit number out of it. So in that case it would be 12, and then sum up all of those values. What I first had in mind was just filter everything that's not a number. Then we would have 12 in here with 38 in here. That wouldn't work in here because we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in there. So I skipped that. Now let's look into the code. Okay, so parsing the input was nothing special today. It's just strings on a new line. So we take the string, take the components separated by new lines, have that as an array of strings. And if we remember, we need to find the first digit and the last digit in a string. So there are several ways how you could do it. You could use a regex, you could use some kind of filter stuff. What I did was iterate through the lines, and for each line, get the first element that is a number, reverse the string, and from the reversed string, just get the first one that is a number as well. Take the first one, multiply it by 10. That way you have a 2-digit number. What we then needed to do was to sum up those values. For that I just used the reduce function, print the value, and that's part 1 in the books. For part 2, we found out it's not only numbers we have in there, but there are some digits that are spelled out actually. And the important thing is it goes from 1 to 9. So 1 to 9 doesn't include 0. I think if you used 0 today, it didn't matter. But actually those are those small details that you need to make sure you get right. Because sometimes your solution will fail if you entered 0 in here and the description didn't say anything about a 0. Wasn't the case today. Just keep that in mind for the upcoming days. So that 1 doesn't matter in here. The 2 doesn't matter in here because we have 8 and 3. What's also interesting to note is just replacing the numbers won't always help, because you have 8 and 2. You would replace the 8 with an 8 and you wouldn't be able to replace the 2 in here. Wouldn't matter at that point, but if the 3 wasn't here, you would have 8, 2. And if you remove the 2, it would go to 8, 8. So now let's quickly jump over to the code. Part 2 is actually a bit harder to implement since we have the strings now that could be a number or a number. So we need to check either if it's a string or a number. And once we have that, sum that up. So use the same logic from above, iterated through every string, got the first and the second number, multiplied it by 10. So we have our 2 digits, reduce it and print it. The difference now is we have a get first and last number using digits. So just hard-coded the digits 1 to 9, then I extended string with the function get first and last number, which takes the digits as an input. Now the interesting part is how do we initialize first and second. So first, I just iterate over the array of characters. And the first part is the same as before. I will just return that as an integer. Okay, so the interesting thing now is how do we check if the strings match. So I just iterate over every digit that we have, take the substring from where we currently started. So for example, if we are here, we just start at A, the second time we start at B, third time we start at C, fourth time we start at 1, and then actually we have a match. And then just check the prefix. So I just take the string I have and see whether our substring that we made starts with that one. If it starts with that one, then we have a match. We can return the index of our digit string plus 1, since 1 is index 0, 2 is index 1, and then we have our first number. Now for the second one, we have to think a bit differently, because now we don't start here, but we start at the back. And for that I just iterated over the array in reverse. The first part is still the same, a 1-digit number iterated in reverse is still a 1-digit number. But the difference is the second part where we check whether it's spelled out. So we still loop over every digit, we take the substring in reverse, and now we also take the number in reverse. So if we check for 1, we're not gonna check for 1, but for ino or out or erd, and that way if we go through it from the back, so we reverse that one, we would have enin, and then we see we have enin in here, we have a match. Do the same thing with the prefix, And if the prefix match, we just return it. And then one dirty thing is if we don't have a match, I'll just panic here because that's no production ready code. It's just solving that problem specifically. And if something goes wrong, I want to know quickly. So I'll just panic. And if it panics here, I know I did something wrong. Return it, sum it up, and part 2 is done as well. All right, that was my solution for day 1. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something or at least had some fun, and see you tomorrow.